Not long ago, it was believed that once we reached adulthood, the brain didn't change, that it was in effect hardwired. It was believed that we are who we are and that basically we have to accept what we were given, like it or like it not. Recent developments in neuroscience, however, have proved us completely wrong. Our brains can and do change throughout our lives. And what's more, how it changes is largely down to us. It's what neuroscientists refer to as neuroplasticity. Think of your brain like this rubber ball. There are billions of pathways in there, and each time you have a thought, or you feel an emotion, or you do something, you use one of these pathways. Now, some of these pathways get used a lot. For example, if we always think in the same way, or if we always do the same thing, the pathways that we use become really, really well developed, and they become a lot easier to use. Think of it a little bit like a motorway where our thoughts travel really freely and really quickly.
Like this!
But there are other pathways in there as well. Pathways that we don't always use quite so often.
Like this.
And when we use these pathways, they might seem a little bit unfamiliar. They might seem pretty narrow and difficult to get down. And it can all just feel like a little bit of a struggle. But over time, the more we use those little narrow pathways, the more we practice, for example, the wider it becomes, until over time, that little narrow one can also turn into one of our motorways as well. When we find those things that we used to find hard, or those things that we didn't do very often, become easier and much more natural to do. These pathways, whether they are well developed or less well developed, are called neural pathways. And the junctions where they join in the middle are called neural connections, or otherwise known as synapses. But here's the really interesting thing about neuroplasticity. We don't just have one fixed or set of pathways. We can start to build new ones as well. So imagine that we want to try something new, for example, or learn something different, or start to think in a different way. We start to create totally new pathways, and we can join up parts of our brain that weren't joined up previously, developing new pathways and new connections to create new behaviours, for example, or new belief systems, new possibilities, new neural networks that can literally rewire the way that we think. So what you choose to rewire your brain to is entirely up to you. All it takes is a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of commitment, and some deliberate action as well. Welcome to the wonderful world of neuroplasticity. My name's Rob. I'm a neuro change master practitioner. I'm a mental health first aid instructor. And if you want to find out a little bit more, click here to subscribe.